Hello and welcome to the Elle Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Ellen Rohrs, and delighted that you've joined us for today's episode. You'll find that most days it's just us, and I'll always deliver a quote and affirmation for us to focus on and topics to follow that really focus on our mindset and how we can live a better, inspired, and elevated life. I really feel all of us can experience abundance, and it always goes back to the mindset. So again, most days it'll just be us, and on those very special days, once a month, I will be inviting a guest that you'll quickly see through my introduction why they have inspired me and how they'll inspire you. So we will just get right into today's episode. And again, I thank you for being here. Hello. I'm so happy to have you here on the Elle Daily Podcast. This is my very first interview with a guest or bringing on a guest. We'll say I met with Dale Creed Francis on Thursday evening. Most of you know that I have a full-time job. So my Monday through Fridays get to be busy, but my evenings and my weekends are filled with inspiration. And so is my job. I don't mean it like that. But I will say Sunday, I spent some time kind of going through our interview. It's a long one and it was hard to cut it down. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to share the full interview with you all. And that way, those that are interested on the investment side, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, maybe you're a real estate investor already, you're looking to get into real estate investing, then you're going to want to listen to the first 30 minutes of this podcast or the interview. If you're maybe like, you know what, I don't care so much about the investment side or real estate, totally fine. But if you're one that wants to focus on mindset and how you can be the best version of yourself, then you will want to listen to the second half. So what I decided to do is post the full interview. So season 1, episode 6 is all about investment, being an entrepreneur. You know, what can you do to be successful, what it takes, and then also that mindset. So part 1 is really on the real estate investment side, entrepreneurial side. Part 2 is more mindset and kind of just getting through the day-to-day. If you're one that's ever experienced imposter syndrome, which I think all of us being human have experienced that, you're almost like, man, am I worthy of what I have, or can I do it? All normal feelings. And you know what? It's just about what can I do to stay focused, inspired, and to know I am worthy of all of the greatness coming my way. That's really what it's about. Enjoy today's podcast. I know that you will all see why Creed has inspired me and how he'll inspire you. Creed, before I formally introduce you, why don't you say a quick hello so my guests can hear that voice of yours?
Okay. Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
It's almost like a little bit like Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, minus about 150 pounds.
Besides the obvious of inspiring his family, friends, and day-to-day business colleagues, Creed has been able to provide a service to the ever-growing demographics of our senior citizens, millennials, and Gen Z that have desire and need to rent versus own a home. Along with that population, Creed has been able to provide solid jobs to thousands and create wealth to investors around the world. Accredited investors, according to the SEC, I must add, which many of you listening are probably able to be accredited. Talk a little bit more about that. You are from the good old Midwest. You're an Iowa boy, an expert real estate investor, especially when it comes to hard asset investing through DPRE, which is short for Direct Participation Real Estate. Kind of a term that you and Ryan coined, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to talk more about that. You will hear the abbreviation DPRE a lot in today's episode. So if it's a new term for you, great. Just keep it in mind as a hard asset versus paper. Paper, which is the more common term you may know, such as REITs, mutual funds, etc. So with his knowledge and over 30 plus years, Creed co-founded Vincent Company with his partner, Ryan Litfin. Along with being a brilliant real estate investor, Creed is also an author and coined the term with his partner Preventative Wealth Care, PWC. He's a radio star and not to mention podcast host Trends with Benefits, which, by the way, is the podcast station I'm in today. And it's so fun to be here. So thank you for having me here.
The studio is pretty fun. Pretty nicely set up for us.
It's beautiful. So Creed also has much going on with his other business ventures, such as Creed Companies and Ag Tech Ventures. And you mentioned one more that it might be fun to talk a little bit about, but why don't you just say the name?
Aventus Data Centers. It's a Vincent Data Centers division called Aventus Data Centers.
So that'll be another one that we might have. If we have time, we're going to talk about that one. So this was a long introduction of all your business success. But now we get to the fun part. This is the part I love. And, of course, we're going to go back to some of the business aspects as well. How has Creed inspired me? So, Creed, this is where you might be a little uncomfortable.
I'm blushing.
Okay.
I'm blushing.
But, as Delta says it best, Delta Airlines, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Okay.
Maybe we'll just sit back and relax.
Yeah, okay.
Today, no air travel. The first thing I noticed about Creed was the way he treated the staff at Lola's Lake House in Waconia, Minnesota. Circa back to April 2021, not too long ago. I had just turned my car in. It was the last day of my med device job, and I was about to start at a new company. So I went to Lola's to celebrate by myself, but hey, that's okay. Well, then I see him there, and we got to talking. Like I said, I really admired him from the get-go, based on his warm personality, genuine heart, and care to others. We spoke some about growing up in Iowa, his grandmother, Beulah. Did I say her name right?
Yeah, Beulah.
I love that name.
Oh, isn't it something?
Yeah.
Don't see that every day.
No, I love it. No. So we talked about grandma and business. So what I will say at the time, I did not fully understand that type of real estate investment or what you were doing. It kind of was, first for me to hear it. But you did give me a copy of your book. I don't know if you remember that. You gave me your book, Preventative Wealth Care, signed and all. I was pretty excited about that. Biggest thing that jumped out to me, though, was on the senior living side is really what jumped out. So you actually did share, and I know you've talked about it recently in a podcast of yours, too. It was a beautiful story about your grandma, and it was after she had her stroke, and she talked about not feeling as purposeful or having a purpose.
Yes.
And it really touched me. I could hear the empathy in your voice, the empathy on my nurse side of me, too. It really just touched me. And again, I felt that emotion through you and your voice, and just all the love that you do have for the seniors out there. So you're definitely providing them with some purpose and passion at these senior homes. And it got me thinking about my grandma Ellen. In the last few years, she lived at an assisted living facility on the memory care side. And with her dementia, she needed to be there. It was St. Ben's in Monticello, so much like some of the ones you have. And I knew that she was safe. She had full-time care, and it took the burden off the family. So I know it takes a village to take care of some of our senior folks, and they need that joy and love and purpose. And the days I would visit and see her, they'd be in the dining hall, or sometimes she'd go to the beauty parlor, church, and just different activities. And the one day that just brightened my day, they were all in the little community section, and they had music. So music for her was, she didn't have that memory all the time.
Right.
But when these songs would come up, it was Edelweiss. I don't know if you know Edelweiss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bless My Homeland Forever.
Yeah.
So that was the song that was on, and she was just singing it and grinning, and it was so cute because she knew every word. So anyways, I can go on and what you're doing to make a difference. I know you've got billions of quotes and stories, but I want the guest to hear more from you now. So it is time to really dive into this interview. And I've got some questions for you.
Oh,
so
boy. I thought we were done.
No?
I thought that was it.
So I don't know. I have so many questions. I'm like, where do I start? Let's start with this one. It ties in my last podcast. So my last podcast, I mentioned success. And it is different to all of us. We all have different ideas of success and what it means. So what is success to you? What is it all about?
To me, it's just progress in someone's life, like making a difference. Being able to wake up each day and know that hopefully you're doing what you love. I do what I love, and I feel bad sometimes talking about how much I love what I do, because there's a lot of people that don't.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want to encourage them to never feel like it's too late to do it. And when you want to change something in your life and you want to follow your dreams. I mean, that's a little overused, right? But we got to have dreams. And when you feel like you're following your dreams, I think that gives you the purpose in your life right there. And you feel like each day you're doing something that is valuable.
Yeah.
It's really not about money. And as we go through, I think we're going to talk about that more, because I know you have the same view.
Yeah.
It's not about money. I think that when you do certain things that you love, they manifest themselves into money, into assets, into love, into joy.
Abundance all around, right? That to me is
all around. And I think that is probably, to me, that's the main thing. I don't have the secret sauce to anything. It's my heart. So
that to me is success right there. So, and purpose is success too. So
yeah, just becoming better. You know, if I can't become better each day, then what am I doing? I've got a friend of mine, not to get, I'm sorry if I'm getting off the path here, but
no.
I've got a friend of mine who's close to 90 years old, and I've always had great older mentors of mine, but this guy says, well, he'll text me or call me, Creed, hey, you're in the area, let's stop and let's have a cocktail and talk about what's been happening. We'll do it. And he'll say every time, if you can't have a little fun, you might as well be dead.
Right? I think that's brilliant.
You have to have that no matter what you're doing.
Yes. I think we sometimes forget to have fun. And that is one of my things. I say this a lot, and I know some people might think I'm a bit crazy to say it, but I love to make every day feel like vacation. So if you can celebrate every day, because just waking up, you know, you think when you go to sleep, you don't have to think about your heart beating. You don't have to think about taking a breath. Your lungs breathe for you. Your heart keeps beating and the blood flows, and you wake up magically and you're there. And so to me right there, that is something to celebrate. So yep. Celebrate those little things every day. So, all right. Next question. You are an entrepreneur and a successful one at that. So if you could do anything else, what would it be? And I know it's hard for me to think of anything better than hard assets with DPRE and all the other things that you have going on. But any other dream, passion, we can even set money aside, right? Because we know it's like you said earlier. What would you say?
I just want to do more of the Elle podcast.
Well, I mean, I will have you on anytime. So
that's probably my biggest dream that I've now reached.
All right, now let's bring it to something for real.
I absolutely love doing business. I used to golf a lot.
Yeah.
I grew up fishing and hunting and everything. I don't do it much anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't sit there and, I miss it. I'll go fishing sometimes with buddies or whatever, but I just love doing what I do. I love doing business.
That's a good place to be.
And creating new things, creating a new book or whatever it is. And
I know you like some karaoke, I hear.
I'll do a little singing here and there.
Yeah.
But I love, people ask me that, like, what do you do other than work? Well,
yeah, what is fun? We just talked about fun.
If you love what you do, this is all cliche. You never work a day in your life. So I do that and I go, I love doing that. I collect watches.
Oh, I didn't know. That's cool.
And sort of vehicles, sort of cars.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not like I have a collection of things from the Model A to the Bugatti. But I do that. But watches are something that I really enjoy researching, finding unique ones, and purchasing them and adding to a collection. Awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, you have a beautiful one on there now.
This is the Rolex Deep Sea Deep Blue James Cameron edition based on his movies. It's a diver watch.
Love the blue. All right, so next question for you. Yeah. So over the past 15 plus years, and I know you've been in real estate longer than 15 plus years, but I'm thinking just with your Vincent Company, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
That's 15.
So that's impressive. So definitely we're celebrating there. And I know that you have had over 5,000 new rental units, or basically a direct investment with Vincent DPRE, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So that's very, very impressive. You've had a very long-term record, just, when I heard that and saw that. So if you knew then, like 15 plus years ago, before you started this journey, what would you tell yourself in the early days when you started the Vincent Company?
Be patient.
Okay. I like that.
I'm not very patient. So be more patient.
Okay.
I like things to happen now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that can be It's probably a strength and a weakness of mine. I've gotten better at it. I've gotten to be where I understand that just because it doesn't happen right now, there's probably a reason, and that door will probably open at some other point. And if it doesn't, then that's fine. But yeah, patience and then just focus on, who I am, who we are, and what we do.
Yeah.
And I had to make a big decision early on in this business regarding property management. And real estate's not the only thing I do, but it is the core. It's it's something I started like you said 25 years ago, and I needed to make a big decision of whether I wanted to grow the business bigger and give up some of my money by having somebody else manage it versus managing myself. And I managed everything myself up till about 400 units.
Okay. Wow.
And then when I started having heart palpitations, I went, wait a second here.
Yeah.
There's got to be a better way. So it was either hire others and pay them.
Yeah.
Or die was another option, which I didn't like.
No.
That was pretty permanent. And then it was or stay where I'm at with this, which was good.
Yeah.
And keep doing it. Well, I put the property management in place, and immediately over the next few years, I was able to focus on acquiring new properties, developing new properties, put my time to that versus managing it and dealing with
the
renters and whatever, or the plumbers and whatever. And then that's just exploded the business. So
you planted that seed early on, which is great.
Yeah. It's kind of like the work smarter versus harder thing,
Yeah. I interrupted you though. You tell people you were going to say something about. I tell people
that it's if you want to ultimately grow bigger, which is not necessarily some people's goal, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You have to then look outside yourself. You can't do it yourself. The whole thing about self-made is ridiculous. Anyone that ever says that, I have to question, because no one's self-made.
I feel like you've been a team along the way.
Oh, I'm probably the dumbest person at my company. Everybody that I have is phenomenal, and they're the ones that make it happen. I've put people in place around me that I can trust and know what I want. I know what they can do, and somehow we make it happen. I don't know.
I love it. That's great. You must be a good leader. I'm sure they love working with you and for you. So
to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower.
There you go.
So I started off following, a lot.
Yeah, well,
a lot of mentors.
We're going to talk about that too. I want to know some of your mentors. So
you bet.
Yeah. So one of your podcasts, I remember you talk about non-correlated diversification, correct? Is that?
Yeah. Non-correlated.
So non-correlated.
Yes, that's key.
Okay. And the benefits of hard assets, DPRE, as you kind of, again, coined that term, versus paper, such as your REITs or mutual funds, which, again, is what most of us know about, or kind of what, I guess, Wall Street really is the one that teaches us all that, right?
Yeah.
So I need you to summarize, because this is new for me, and I'm sure it's new for a lot of my listeners out there. Can you kind of sum it up for us? Like, how would you break it down?
Well, okay, so we were talking about this before we started the podcast, and I'm always conscious about where I want to meet people with where they're at. For the most part, I mean, Wall Street over decades. Well,
almost.
Oh yeah, right. A long time.
Yeah.
Have spent billions to create a certain environment that they would have people buy into. And stocks are paper assets, and I'm not saying don't own them. I do too.
Yeah.
However, and I will say, in my opinion, because I don't want to get in trouble legally somehow, I'm not a financial advisor. In my opinion, you cannot diversify through those means alone.
Sure.
You have to incorporate hard assets. The number one hard asset is real estate. There is other things. There are precious metals. You can own gold bars. You can own coins, right? You can. There's various things that you can own that are hard assets. Real estate's the number one. In fact, real estate is in fact the number one wealth creator in the whole world. Wall Street, unfortunately, there again has done a disservice, I think, to people through funds, mutual funds, REITs, real estate investment trusts, very similar things. No need to just explain the difference between them right now. What that is, though, is you will have financial advisors say, oh, here's a way to diversify into real estate. Sure, yeah. You want to invest in real estate? Well, 50 years ago, people bought real estate. They bought bonds. They bought stocks. They bought gold. They had these different investments. Those are truly diversified. When you buy them through mutual funds, REITs, unfortunately, what you see is they all move together. They're all correlated because they are paper assets. So now, I don't know how far in the weeds we want to go with this, but I will go as far as you want to. REITs and mutual funds that are real estate allocated. Here's the problem. You will find when you dig deep, or hey, I'm open to talk about it anytime you want and explain it more, but they most of the time, or let's say often, don't even own real estate.
Okay.
So they can be a real estate mutual fund or a REIT and own real estate brokerages. They can own a business that is has a bunch of brokers and realtors. That can be a real estate investment. I'm using air quotes here.
No.
Can't see.
Yeah. I don't have my video on.
They will also, they can invest in various other things that are considered real estate sector, but aren't true assets. They aren't true real estate. Now, the difference also is you're going to own those shares in those. You don't get that actual depreciation write-off because you do not own the real estate.
Okay.
You own shares of a fund that may or may not own real estate. In the end, the problem with it is that you'll see that move up and down directly with all your other stocks, which should not happen.
Yeah.
If you're truly diversified, that means that you might have some part of your portfolio down this year and another part up. But I will challenge people out there who are invested through mutual funds to look at any year where you've been down, where everything wasn't down, or when you're up, everything's up. And I've had people ask me, well, why diversify then? I mean, when it's up, it's up. They're missing the point because you don't not every year is up. Not every month is up. Not every decade is up.
Right.
You need to diversify. That's the whole purpose of protecting your assets.
All right. I love it.
Did that make any sense at all? Because I could talk for probably 6 or 7 more hours on exactly why there's a difference, but direct participation in any hard asset is there's gold funds too. They don't own, you don't own gold when you invest in that. You own shares in a fund that owns gold.
Right.
Instead of maybe you own actual gold and it's in your safe. That's the difference.
Yeah. And what I love about Vincent, I mean, if you're going to be investing with your company, you can drive by and see your asset as it's being built, right? So
Correct, right.
That's the neat thing about that. There's something to say, hey, wow, okay, it's being built. Well, now it's done. It's being leased out.
That's right.
People are moving in. And there you go.
Touch it, feel it. I often say smell it, which is just weird, but you can. You can.
Lumber smells good.
I challenge you to invest in a REIT and then figure out where you're invested.
Right.
Good luck.
Oh, I have no idea, and I just depend on my financial advisor, who I don't even know who he is really when it comes to my 401k and all of everything that's going on behind the scenes. I just sit there and trust them and hope that things are going right. But I see it fluctuate all the time with the market. So,
and I don't want to say anything disparaging about financial advisors. I think they serve a great purpose. Yeah. Here's the thing: over the years, the really good ones, honestly, they contact us and they look for direct participation in real estate for their clients instead of putting them into REITs and mutual funds. Now, why won't a run-of-the-mill financial advisor do that? I'll tell you exactly why. Because when they would allocate money over here, they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to be getting paid on it then in my mutual fund fees. You know, the people that use financial advisors that they pay more as consultants, you know, hourly and to find them the best that are fiduciaries. Yeah. Those are the ones that end up working with companies like us.
Okay. I need to look into that. Spend a little more time digging. So, all right. Well, another thing about yours, because I know with the DPREs, there's different types, right? Even commercial, I know, can be one. But your main focus is truly on the senior living and the multifamily homes, correct? Or apartments.
So, yeah, DPRE could be anything from single family houses to apartments, senior living, commercial buildings, mini storage. But, and I've owned mini storage over the years, lots of them. But what Vincent Company's focuses on, and there's reasons we do, and we can get into that,
that's my next question,
multifamily apartment buildings, what's called market rate apartments. We don't do anything Section 8. We don't do, it's market rate apartments. It means you build it in an area after you've done your studies and you know what the market bears. So we will build those. We will also do 4 different levels of senior living. We'll do 55 plus, which is for active seniors. There's no services here. What it is it's a legal age discrimination. They don't want to live beside someone who's 25.
Right.
So 55 plus, they get to be in this place. We have golf simulators in there, fitness rooms, woodworking. We have pubs in there, rooftop patios, all these things that they like. Next level is a level of assisted living where they a la carte choose what level they need. The next is assisted living and memory care. You talked about that in your families. So that is where there's assisted living people in there that need their help. And the memory care is for the Alzheimer's and the dementia patients, getting the right care. There's so many advancements in that space these days to help them. Right. Yeah. And my dad died of Alzheimer's, and so there's a special place in my heart for this as well. I've done the testing. I don't have the gene, thank God, but he did, and my grandpa did. So I was very worried. But who knows? I still forget things every day. So maybe. But then the 4th level is high acuity, and that is typically a smaller footprint building. It doesn't have underground parking and all that because these folks don't typically have vehicles.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They're there with a lot of care, typically single level buildings.
Okay.
And this is where they are going to live out their life with dignity. And they are in some sort of severe health issues. So unfortunately, the term of those tenants is much shorter.
Right.
It's much shorter.
Right.
We had, I can speak to one in Prior Lake that the week of Christmas, this is just a 40 unit high acuity building. We had 5 people die that week. And our staff was away from their family Christmas Eve, handling this. The kind of dedication these people have, which I love them for. But they're dealing with families at difficult times. So that's why there's so many employees.
Right. Yeah.
There's the healthcare workers in this are. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, we have thousands of employees.
Yeah, you'd have to with your.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and we know it's going to continue to grow. So in the next 20 to 25 years, you've got your baby boomers. You've got, baby boomers for the senior living that we just spoke about. Yes. But then going back to the multifamily, you've got millennials, the Gen Z even, right?
Correct.
So they'll all be in their prime renting years. So you did another podcast that talked about 75% of the population will be looking for a place to call home.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So before our podcast, Trends with Benefits, my business partner, Ryan, and I had a radio show called Financial Fortitude for about 10 years. And it was all things financial related. It was about the global economy, anything and everything. Stayed away from politics, really, for the most part. Maybe talked about it twice in 10 years. But we did shows about it a few years ago, and we're still talking about it because we've done extensive studies on this. So you have the baby boomers, who was the largest group in our history, who are now, for the next 20 to 25 years, there's 10,000 people turning 75 every day right now in the U.S. for the next, now probably about 22 years.
That's amazing.
And like it comes down to like, I don't know, thousands a day in Minnesota alone. I forget the number, but it's staggering. So then you have that. But then something we've never seen before. Well, that was something we never seen before. You have your millennials who are renting longer than ever before. They're living at home longer than ever before. So when they at some point do move from their home, they don't typically go right to buying, especially now. Things changed.
Yeah.
And ones who were trying to buy, interest rates went up. They're back to renting. So now we're driving more renters. Okay. And now Gen Z is the group following that. Now that is actually the largest group of people ever, bigger than boomers.
Wow.
And you think about in the next 10, 15 years. So those kids are like, just call them your teenagers now.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? They're going to rent.
Right.
They're not going to start by buying their home. So your point that you said was over the next 20, 25 years, you've got what I call the trifecta in real estate happening.
Yeah.
If you're looking to be an investor, it's the trifecta that you can't deny. Our industry is more on, it's less based on the economy than it is on demographic.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, and I like it that way because if I'm going to invest in stocks, especially, so now I'm looking at stocks that are only going to thrive in these types of economic times. Mm-hmm. But with real estate and what we're facing, you're looking at the trifecta of the older group, the two younger groups, and they're all somewhat competing in this rental market. Now, granted, there's some differences in what they're competing for, but the point is that it's rental. Mm-hmm. And that's why people will say to me, hey, I drive around, I'm seeing not only your buildings, but I'm seeing other people's buildings.
Yeah, I see it
all
too,
around.
Everywhere.
How can this be? Yeah. I go, you just need data. Because I'm not saying I don't fall prey to it. I'll give you an example. Burnsville, we have other apartment buildings in the Burnsville area. Burnsville was asking us to build another apartment building. I was real apprehensive. I'm like, look, we've built buildings there. There's several others in the area. What really is there a need? Here's what I found out. They had a moratorium on apartment buildings for 20 years. They hadn't had new buildings. The demand was built up so much that even the ones we had built and others had built wasn't covering the demand. So they showed, I said, show me that this is still what you need. And the demand in that area is still 500 to 600 units are needed.
Wow.
So we built a 130 unit building. Undoubtedly that will fill.
Right.
The point is that we follow demographic trends, and that's what where this whole point started. Yeah. You follow demographic trends, regardless of you looking at it going, there's a new building every mile. What are you talking about?
Right. You make a wise, educated decision and have people that help you. Yeah.
And you don't just willy-nilly go, I'm going to build it there.
All right. Well, so much potential, right? So if somebody was listening to this podcast today and thought, man, I want to invest in real estate. I don't know how to get started. I don't know what it takes. In your opinion, we're going to just start with the personality traits and some of the mindsets. But what would you say would be the top personality traits, mindsets that somebody would need to be in this real estate investment in these opportunities to take
Objective.
Objective.
Yeah. You know, it's something that I've worked hard at myself over the years to be objective business-wise, politically, anything, because it's impossible to know what you don't know. There's so much more that I don't know than I do know. So I tell people, be objective, because if your mind's open, it's like a parachute. Yeah. It only works when it's open. If it's closed, well, you fall to your death. Nobody wants that.
No.
So I say be objective and learn.
I love that.
Because what's life if you're not learning? Again, if you're not learning, you're probably going backwards.
Right. And that advice is good for all arenas of our life, whether it's real estate. Yeah. I mean, objectivity and learning, those are two key components for sure. So what would you say one of the biggest myths about your business, or some of the maybe challenges that you are facing on a day-to-day?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but let's go into it in more depth. People will say, I've heard this before. They're like, self-made. Oh, you're a self-made business person. There's no such thing. I don't care who you are. If somebody is saying they're self-made, and I've heard that on shows, and I just cringe, because it's not possible. Yeah. You have to have other people around you to make it happen. And the most common question I get, and I understand why I get this question, is how do you keep all of this straight? Because I have multiple companies. Well, so I understand where it's coming from, because most people I'm talking to have one company or one job, and it already is chaos at times. Oh, I feel it. Yeah. Okay. So, I get it. It's years of trial and error. Yeah. I mean, there was such chaos years ago it's kind of like the duck on water. Maybe it looked above like it was calm, but under the water's crazy.
You're treading like crazy.
There's still days like that. Yeah. There's still days like that. But I just had a very successful business owner ask me that exact question. Shout out to Dan Skluzacek, by the way. He asked me the exact thing. How do you keep it all straight? And I said, Dan, it's a lot of people that know what they're doing, a lot of people working and staying in their lane and keeping that moving. Yeah. If it was me, there's no way. Of course not. And that's why the self-made thing is just ridiculous. There's no way I could have ever done it to get to this point, nor could I continue to keep it going. No way. Yeah. No.
All right. So I want to take it back to the accredited investor. We spoke about it early on in the podcast. So I just want you to elaborate a little bit more for our guests on how that all works. How can we become a part of Vincent Real Estate?
Yeah. Well, so an accredited investor is a term that's created by the SEC, not me. That just means there's a few ways to qualify. Kind of the two main ones that people know of when they research it is, if you have $1 million in investable assets, not including your personal residence, that's one. Another way is to make a couple $100,000 a year as an individual over a couple years, and reasonably anticipate that that's going to be the next year, something to that language.
Sure.
Or if it's a couple, 300,000. So there's various ways to do it. Now, our offerings do allow for a certain number of non-accredited investors. Just to be totally honest on this, the thing that we don't want is an investor who is going to, invest and then call every single day, because that's not how these investments work.
Right.
So we want to get to know them, and we turn down people probably more often than anybody else. I don't mean that as a deterrent. It means we want to be on the same page. Right. Like, we want to know this is a person who understands this investment, wants this investment, and accredited. Sure. Good.
Yeah.
That's great. Non-accredited, there are a couple more questions. That's all.
Okay. So you're saying there's a chance for me.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yes. All right. I mean, you will see me in a year to two. I will I will be here. All right.
Can't wait.
Thank you for explaining that, though. I do know that there's a lot of people in my life, friends, family, coworkers, that are very successful and would definitely see the benefits in this type of investment. So thank you again for explaining that. But, we talked a lot about business. I want to, my podcast is really about the inspiration on a daily level, right? So things that inspire us to get to where we are. So again, you have had a lot of success in your life, but without the mindset that you have, kind of taking care of your, body, spirit, mind, all of it comes hand in hand to be successful. And so I want to learn a little bit more about the fun side, right?
Okay. All right. Fine.
Yeah. So let's go back to your 20s. When you were in your 20s, what did you want to do or think you would do?
So, yes. So I played football and baseball in college and was pre-med.
Okay.
So I was working towards being an orthopedic surgeon, which kind of played into the sports thing.
That.
Well, I love that. I still am intrigued by it so much.
No, you'd be great at that.
And so, now when I wake up with a pain in my leg, I want to start trying to analyze it and everything.
Hey, I know a lot of orthopedic surgeons. And that's my line of work, or it was.
There you go. So didn't go that route. Ended up going the business route. I had an opportunity at the time before deciding to go to med school or to start this business, which we haven't talked about, nor will we need to. But it was a company that had the opportunity to start at that time. And my business partner, Ryan, he affectionately says that the med school had the decision in it more than me, but I'll let him have that one. That's probably a little truth to that. But no, I would probably be doing that. I had a short career in baseball too. Nothing too exciting to talk about, but a little stint in the Reds organization. Very short. Might say had a cup of coffee with them, and then to dream about that, probably wouldn't be doing that today.
All right. Well, hey, so it sounds like to me, just hearing you talk about it, you feel that you might even be in a better place than what you imagined in your 20s. Would that be fair to say?
Far better. Yeah, I've actually, it's not the first time I've had that question asked, and I feel like I am in way better position now because I can't imagine really today myself being that surgeon and having I don't know, like that lifestyle, that demand. Like I have a lot of freedom now for what I do, and I love what I do, so I can't imagine it being any different than that. And so I've thought about it over the years, but I feel like I'm in a much better place because now I still have surgeons, physicians, pro athletes, professional entertainers that come to me and I work with them and we interact and we do investments together. And so it's like kind of the best of both worlds, I guess. Yeah,
it really is. Well, I'm happy for you. So we're going to go to some of those, the mindset. I talk again a lot about mindset on my podcast, and I think it's so powerful to be thinking positive thoughts, but I know it's natural for all of us. We're human, right? Sometimes we have thoughts, memories, limiting beliefs, and, they get stuck in the subconscious mind. So often we can catch them, but a lot of times if it's in the subconscious, you don't catch it. So I'm curious, and if you're not comfortable sharing, I completely understand. We can breeze by this one because it's a bit more personal, but I think it will help others out there to understand somebody successful like you that, you do maybe get the imposter syndrome or have some limiting beliefs that you've dealt with along the way and that you're continually striving to work on and become better. So, so do you have any, and what do you do if you catch them?
So is this a cold case podcast now at this point? Because we're digging deep into the psyche.
Yeah, I'm kind of going into my psychotherapy here now. I'm just going to start to hypnotize you if you're okay with that. I've already done it. If you didn't realize,
whatever you do not have me in the corner clucking like a chicken. Okay, let's not do that.
Oh, that's not what we do. No, but hey,
absolutely, you have these. That is. I think this is not something to breeze over.
Okay, good.
I think it is I think it's powerful. I think it might be the most important question you've asked.
Thank you. I should have put it first. Maybe.
Well, I don't know.
I didn't want to start too personal. Yeah, I thought we'd let the crowd warm up to you a bit.
Right, and I would have gotten scared and ran off and whatever.
It's true.
No, I think about the things, time to time, where I'm from. I'm a farm boy. I'm a farm boy from Iowa. What could he possibly know? Why am I doing this? Do I deserve it? Or am I, what, how did I get here? Do I, they'll say, I grew up in a traditional Lutheran church. I mean, money's evil.
Yeah. Oh, that's something that I will say, in the Catholic faith too. It doesn't always feel, yes, I hear you there. I understand that.
Yeah. And this isn't, you and I talked about this before the podcast. This is not about money, but with success in anything you do, it often equates to that. And I tell people never focus on that. Your goal should never be money. It manifests into, it's a byproduct of doing the right
what
thing.
You love and doing,
exactly.
Doing the right thing.
But I think that when those money is evil things in the mind, there's a saying also that says the only thing harder than creating great wealth is keeping it.
Yeah.
So you start to
you feel that lack in a way, and then it just lack breeds lack in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. You do. You feel, there's times when I feel like, because I know of circumstances, when you build wealth, a lot of people want it.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to take it in one way or another. I think that's how we become a litigious society. Lawsuits over everything, and everybody's looking for their opportunity to sue.
But you can do so much good with it too. I think the reason I have this desire to make money is one, so I can live a comfortable life and do whatever I want to do and have the time and means to make a difference in the world and to enjoy life. But I also think give and to not even think about it, just to give freely. And actually, I think the more that we do give our money freely, the more that it comes our way.
That's hitting at the heart of me. I do a lot of giving that no one ever knows about. I do it anonymously because I don't care that, and I do things in ways I'm not going to disclose what a couple of these are. I love doing that way. I love doing it in the element of surprise for people. So I do that. I like that a lot.
Right.
And one thing that I have an issue with I'm not going to get political here because it goes across all parties, actually. But the more that you tax people and you force them to give, the less they give from their heart.
That's true. Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not against various programs. I just think some of them have gotten out of hand because when you force me to give to the government, and I know that most of the time they're not going to do it in the best way that I would believe could be done.
Yeah.
It hinders. It hinders it because if you didn't have that, you just look at how people take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Or not themselves, how they take care of each other, I meant.
Yep.
You look at that. When someone's in need, what happens? We take care of each other.
We do.
And I don't think that's needs to be so much intervention in there about taking it so that it can be given to others. But I love to give.
I do too.
I love to do it at my own free will.
Yep, 100%. So, all right, well, good. That was a good segue into this next question.
Oh boy.
No, it's a simpler one. So what is the most important lesson or failure that you've learned from? And why are you grateful for it? So this is where, you kind of said it earlier, where everything happens for a reason. So if you have that mindset, I think you can always find the good in everything. So in your experience, whether it was a happy lesson or where you failed, did you learn from it? Are you grateful for it? Kind of elaborate on something like that.
Yeah, a lot of failures, actually. And I've learned more from failures than I have from successes. So there's a couple that jump out. There's a saying that I created 25 probably years ago, as I call it, maybe my life mantra that I live by. And I try to tell people this as often as I can. But my saying is that people with integrity expect to be believed.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're not, they let time prove them right.
Ooh, I
and
like
you
that.
know that it's never failed me. And I say never is a tough word to use.
Yeah, it is.
It's never failed me. Now that didn't mean that it worked out the next day. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's years. But people with integrity expect to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right. And with patience, that's been the biggest thing for me to live by. Because if you live by that and you're not a con, it always proves you.
It
right?
does.
It works out.
It works out. Yep. Good things happen to
100% of the time.
Yeah, I love that saying. Good things happen to good people. I believe that without a doubt. So, yeah. All right. So, some people are morning routine people. Some people aren't. I can be one that changes it up here and there. But I'm just curious. Do you have like something that works well for you? Or is there kind of a specific time of the day that's your best time of the day where you're like, this is where I need to get the most critical work done?
I've never been a great morning person.
Really? Okay.
I mean, time to here and there. Coffee works good for me.
Yeah.
So I get up, coffee, and then work out, maybe along with a sauna, maybe some more coffee after that.
Yeah.
And I really then would say I hit my stride. Really productive time for me is late morning into early mid afternoon.
Okay.
I'm just in a zone there and can focus really good.
Good for you. I'm the opposite of you. I'm a morning person. I love just get me up, get me a little coffee, and I am ready to roll.
I don't like people like you.
No, my sister, well, I should say in the younger years, now both my sisters are morning people too, but I was a little too chipper for a lot of the family members.
Yeah. Shut up over there.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. I know that Grandma Beulah is one of your amazing role models, but
Yes.
we've already talked a lot about her, who's amazing. So I wanted to, of course, bring her up early on, but who else besides Grandma would be some of your role models, mentors?
Well, I've been attracted towards older, successful guys than me in business.
Okay.
And I was in my early 20s. I just could not get enough of hanging out with guys like Bill Sargent, who's a great friend of mine still to this day.
Nice.
He's in his 80s. He's an attorney and a real estate investor and a entrepreneur, has owned various businesses. Jerry Estes, attorney, business owner, real estate. Pat Minnick he's passed away. He was one of the greatest mentors of my life. This guy I met when I was in my late 20s wasn't a huge, in the world's perspective, wasn't a huge success business-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable person.
See, that goes a long way.
And he and I were so close. And he was, I'm going to tell you a little story about it in a second, but he's quite a bit older than me. So at his 60th birthday party, threw a huge party for him, 60th birthday party. I was 30. He wanted me to speak. So I'm speaking about him. And I said, Pat, I don't want you to think of 60 as old. I just want you to think of it as twice my age. And so he had the biggest roaring laugh
that's funny.
ever. I love him. I miss him. And can't wait to see him again someday.
Yeah,
so,
you will.
What
That's
a
good.
great day. And then my dad. My dad was considered one of the most conscientious, most successful farmers in North Central Iowa. I learned so much from him, and he never he had so much patience with me. I don't know how. I don't know how. I screwed up so many things.
That's a good quality.
Ridiculous.
Good quality.
Screwed up so many things. I mean, I don't know how he.
The unconditional love of a parent.
Yeah. Oh, Larry.
Oh, well, good. Those are good role models.
Yeah, and then number one, Beulah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beulah's the greatest.
Like a good woman. All right. Well, let's see. We're going to go to your top books, or even maybe a podcast besides yours. Of course, we can't. We'll recommend that one, but
no, it's not nearly as good as these that I'm going to talk about.
All right. Well, yes. Tell us what you would say for kind of your top inspiration when it comes to books or podcasts.
Well, there's a lot of great books out there, but timeless for me are the How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, which somebody handed to me when I was about 22 years old, and it changed my life.
That's a great
and
one.
I thanked him many times. It was Bill Sargent, by the way. My
Bill,
buddy.
good old Bill.
And I said, Bill, the only thing I wish is that you would have given me this when I was like 15. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm glad I read it when I was 22 and not 42, whatever.
Right.
So that's phenomenal and still stands the test of time because it's about how to talk with people and build relationships. I think it's phenomenal. It's never changed.
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich is phenomenal. It's not just about money. It's how to think to be successful in whatever you do. That's phenomenal. And then anything by Zig Ziglar.
Yeah,
and he's just phenomenal. So funny. And he comes across, he's just inspirational as can be. But I don't know if you're familiar with The Secret. That's relatively more new.
Yeah, no,
it's a newer thing.
I love The Secret.
But wow.
Yeah.
I think you can believe certain things into, I think the environment or the universe where it's all energy.
It's all energy. Yeah. I've got so many studies, even on the mind, basically test the mind and the energy that flows outside of your brain.
Yeah.
There's electrical fields that express energy. So it's amazing. So yes, I believe in that big time. And that is why I love mindset so much. And the Think and Grow Rich, the thing I liked about that, I know
Napoleon Hill, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of controversial. Some people said he was the biggest fraud back in the day, but I was like, I still love that book. And it is a lot about mindset and making things happen.
Well, that's being objective. That's objectivity. No one was perfect. That's why I see tearing down statues of people from the past is not helping anybody because no one was perfect.
No.
They did certain things. How about we learn about, there's their statue. Here's what they did good. And you know what? Here's what they did bad too. Let's not do that again.
Right.
And so, Napoleon Hill, he could have been an awful, awful human being. That book doesn't change the fact that that doesn't change the fact that book can change your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Objectivity. Be objective about that, and nobody's perfect. And back to that brain energy study, they did one on me. They never found any activity.
I highly doubt it.
No, I'm serious. All zero, flatlined. I can't. It's unbelievable.
All right. Well, we're going to test it again. But hey, you know what? You're sure good at making things happen. So whatever you're doing for abundance, you got the secret down. So hey, but all right. So we are actually over an hour. This might be the longest podcast I've done, which I love.
I apologize
so
about that.
No. This is great. So we're going to wrap it up with just a few more questions. And I'm going to make sure the guests too know how they can find you so they can actually dive deeper. I know you've got a lot of great podcasts out there. You've got webinars. You've got so much. But before we wrap it up, I want to know what is next? The next 5 years, what will I see? What will I hear? What are you thinking? You're
going to see a very, very tan Creed.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Fat looks better tan. That's all I have to say. That's the way it is. No, I mean, I've had homes in various areas. The thing that I'm searching for now is where do I really want to be? That is me.
Yeah.
And I've been looking into some horse ranches outside of Nashville area.
Wonderful.
That
area.
seems very me. I've got a close buddy that's lived there for 25 years or so, and I visit him occasionally. I love it, and friends of mine, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, they live out south of the city, out in that area, and it's just gorgeous. And I don't know. I could see myself. I never really thought about it till the last year. I was looking at it going, it's kind of a middle range. I don't necessarily need to be on the beach all the time.
Yeah.
But it's a little warmer than here.
Yeah.
Right? And not that I'm going to leave Minnesota. I love it. I am Iowa, Minnesota. I'm never going to leave the Midwest. I think I'm going to be consulting more.
Good.
Going to write it. Probably, I've got plans for another book to follow this one up, kind of a volume 2 thing. So
you'll be busy.
I think so.
Busy, but having fun, which is good.
So. Yeah.
The spice of life.
I'll still find my way to a happy hour occasionally.
Okay, good. Finally, one of my favorite questions that I plan to ask all my guests. I always want to close with this. What inspires you or elevates you most on a daily basis? It can be anything action-wise, anything related, body, mind, and spirit, thoughts, whatever comes to your mind first.
Creating. I love creating things, and that's why having good people around me to take my ideas and what I want to create and help me bring those to fruition is huge. Part of that's just the mild OCD in me, my lack of patience. I'm constantly wanting to do new things and create new things. I'm kind of a marketing guy at heart.
Yeah, I can see that.
But that comes into everything you do. And so, I threw a billboard on 494 one time regarding my book, and it was a black billboard, and in white lettering in the Got Milk font, it said "Got Protection?" ? And it had my Preventative Wealth Care website at the bottom, and it made all kinds of people think. I mean, the response was incredible, and that's all that was on the billboard.
Simple.
And so I like doing that kind of thing. Recently, I consulted for a Lutheran church. And they know I'm a bit risque.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking with them, I said, look, you guys know I'm a bit risque in my thinking. I'm just that way, but I'm not going to bring that to this church, but I do have some ideas, because what they wanted to do, they want to expand it and build on, and they wanted to bring a new vibe to bring it into modern times and be welcoming. How about in the main entrance, where people walk up to, right above that, we put a big sign that says, "All are welcome." And it's just right there. All are welcome. Let's make it clear, and let's make it a little edgy.
Yeah.
Because churches don't do that. And they absolutely loved it, and they're doing it. So
good. How can our guest or my guest get a hold of you? How do we find, also you have that evidence-based booklet.
Yes.
On the trends with benefits. Where and how can we find you?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways. One way is DaleCreedFrancis.com. Now, if you want to go right to the company that we've mostly been talking about here, Vincent Companies, just go to VincentCos.com, and you can learn all about the companies there. Under resources, there's various booklets. There's a evidence-based investing book. It's an objective booklet on investing in this. So it's not a promotional piece. It just talks about really the facts about
very
things.
Educational. I printed it off.
Oh, cool. And so, you know what? I'm in the process of writing a new one, evidence-based investing, how to invest in edge data centers. That's a new one.
Awesome.
That'll be out soon too. You can click on the contact us. You can select a bunch of different things. The EBI book is one of them. I think you can select, and one of the folks here at Vincent Companies will get it to you. So it's that simple.
She emailed it right away. So within 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. That's cool.
That was great.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, you can do that. And I would be more than happy to chat with you about anything at any time. I'm not a sales guy on this. I don't need to be. This is, it's just everything we do is education. So if you want to talk about stuff and get educated on it and never talk to me again or never do any of that, that's cool. I'm just here to help and see what I can do.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. I mean, you've been, like I said, a huge inspiration in my life for the very short bit that I've known you. It's only been a few years, but I've learned a lot from you along the way, and I'm happy that we were able to do this tonight. So thank you so much. And we will be talking soon. And to all my guests out there, thank you for being here. Sending you all so much love, and I will see you next time.